Okay, so we got the exterior in two parts. We got a little bit of cracking, a little mortar separation between the soldier bricks. Right over here, this is the west side of the garage car entries. The garage car entries are in direct contact with the patio cover. I'll just do that here. Keep the garage casement statement. Now, what's happened here is that the siding was too close to the concrete. The water wicked up off of the concrete into the wood. The wood rotted, and when we came back and we just corrected it like this, instead of actually correcting the problem, which would be to create a gap so that the water would not come up, through capillary action. But we do the best we can, and that was the best they could do, and that's what happened. A tree shouldn't be any closer than 25 feet to a slab foundation. Okay. The lawn sprinkler heads should not be any closer than 4 inches to a slab foundation. And this is a good example right here. If you look at the corner of the foundation where there's a kind of crack, some people call those corner pops. Those are shrinkage cracks is what they actually are. But call it a corner pop. I'm okay. I'm good with that. What happens is the brick and the concrete slab foundation expand and contract at different rates at different times, and sometimes for different reasons. And the pressure always comes out at the corner, and that cracks. That in and of itself is not a foundation issue. And I've got an explanation of that baked into your report in a link. Okay, of this, not that, this. Okay, so this might be a conducive condition to wood destroying insects if the soil was higher and the pieces were still there. It might be, an aesthetic issue. It might hold your brick. Your wall is not brick. You've got a wooden wall. Okay, so, and you got a brick facade. So it might be a brick issue. It might be a termite issue. But this, in and of itself, that is not a foundation performance issue. It's part of the foundation. It'll be in the foundation report. We've got a series of stair-step cracks between the brick and mortar over here on the garage. And you see how these go up this way and these go down that way? Okay, that tells us that this middle area has dropped. You just kind of look at where the pressure is. It tells us that the middle area is dropped. If the cracks were going the other way, then it would tell us that the middle area had come up, or that the edges were dropping. But this is the middle area was dropping right here. This is a post-tension cable foundation, and that's a open post-tension cable end right there. And that should be sealed so that the cables, to help prevent the cables from rusting. If one of those cables breaks, it's kind of an expensive repair. So just so that you know, we've got some erosion along here. This is the east side of the home. The home faces north, and all this soil over here is disturbed, and that tells me that there's a likelihood that foundation piers have been installed here, or the seller was anticipating an FHA, and they know what FHA appraisers are looking for, so that might have been the reason. I know that this house has recently had foundation repairs, so it's easy to make that assumption. This soil would stay in place and the erosion wouldn't happen a lot better if there were rain gutters installed, but there were not. Rain gutters were not installed along here. Coming along here, we've got soffit vents with screens. That one actually looks pretty good, but we'll probably look at some more here in a little bit. That's a little more crowded. Okay, moving on along, stair-step cracks. This is the electric meter to the house. This is the east side of the garage. It's below grade. Today, in the 1980s they didn't do this, but you'd have a slip joint installed on here so that it'd go up and down so you wouldn't get pressure on the box, which looks like we skated that one. Now, this box, again, in 1980 they weren't doing this, but I gotta say that the top and the sides should be sealed with a sealant, because brick is porous. Brick is a very good building material. That's your lawn sprinkler controls, so they're getting some stress from the movement here. I don't know how that's going to play out lawn sprinkler system is beyond the scope of this inspection. My client, okay, and my client's direction, we forego that. This is the water heater, I'm assuming. This is the water heater temperature pressure relief valve drain line, and it's not supposed to be farther from the ground than 6 inches or closer than 3 inches, and it looks like it's okay the way this is. Now if we come in here and regrade this and push the soil down where all the erosion is, and we move this, it may one day, it might develop, the situation might develop that it's beyond the that it's taller than 6 inches. So I'm just making note of that. This right here is called a control joint. Some people call them expansion joints. Call them what you will. Okay, when you have this much wall in North Texas, okay, we expect some movement. You saw some down there. Probably could have used another control joint. So now the thing is about control joints is that they have a sealant inside of here that gets dry and shrinks and pulls away from the brick. So every couple years, maybe every year, you should come around and just look at your house, look at what you're paying for, look at your control joints, among other things. Look around the window frames, for example, and just see what needs to be resealed. We got some cracking in the mortar around the soldier bricks around this window right here, and some of this will be listed in the report. I'm not required to itemize. I try to do a good job of that, but a lot of it will. And a lot of it will be noted in here. There's another crack. Okay, there's another shrinkage crack right in there. This is the second video, but I haven't been in the backyard yet. But I like to go counterclockwise, so there's no telling what I told you in the previous video if you watched them in order. But so far, this is the most significant cracking right here. It's narrow at the bottom around these are called stretcher bricks. These are called sailor bricks. Those are called soldier bricks. We got a horizontal crack between the sailor and the soldier and the sailor bricks. We got this. It starts off wider at the top and narrow at the bottom. You don't usually like to see that. That's something that you just really don't, But there it is. And again, I don't know if it was ever corrected, ever repointed after the foundation repair was done. Coming up here on the roof, you already noticed that I talked about the siding. I already talked about the apron flashing up there. Moving on along. Well, hey Jolene.
I'm guarding your opening truck.
Well, thank you. You got a little bit of cracking in the window here. Soldier bricks cracking. Tree touching the roof right there. It shouldn't be doing that. Again, on the roof, we talked about the flashing not being lapped enough. We've already been there, done that. But this is what I promised you, that soffit vent. It's got a lot of paint on it, and that obstructs the air intake. We've already got some other issues on the attic, on the roof that we talked about, the attic ventilation. Over here, we got some more stretching. Trees are too close. Where do termites live? In the ground. What do they eat? Dead wood. What's wood mulch? Dead wood in the ground next to your house. It's called a clue. That's called a clue. And here on the porch, you see these holes drilled in here? There's only one reason for these holes. Okay, for anybody to make a hole like that. It is so prevalent that the Texas Structural Pest Control Board says that I have determined that this house has been treated for wood destroying insects, for termites. And people usually do this as a reaction. It's usually not a proactive stance. Storm doors are beyond the scope of the inspection. So this tells us that this house has been treated for subterranean termites at least once. We don't know who treated it, we don't know when they treated it, and we don't know what they treated it with.